If you're trying to figure out whether you should pick up the Sony ZV-1 Mark II or the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 for vlogging, I'm going to break it down into 13 main areas that I think matter the most when going out to shoot a vlog, and hopefully this will also help you decide which one is going to be better for you. Then at the end of the video, I'll tell you which one is my top pick. In terms of video quality, both the Osmo Pocket 3 and the ZV-1 Mark II have excellent video quality, so you wouldn't really be disappointed with either in that respect. But when looking at the colour profiles, which determine how the end result will look, the ZV-1 Mark II has more options. However, once you choose a profile, you can't really manipulate the look of your footage any further whilst you're editing, whereas with the Osmo Pocket 3, you can add non-destructive filters in the Mimo app and in any editing software, which gives you greater flexibility with the look that you want to achieve. Both cameras give you the opportunity to have even more flexibility when it comes to the look of your footage, as they both have a log profile which produces flat footage. However, with D-Log-M, you can push and pull the footage around more freely without the footage degrading to a point, and this is because of its 10-bit colour in comparison to the Sony ZV-1 Mark II's 8-bit colour, which produces far less colours, making the colour grading process slightly more rigid. So if you're looking to have as much control over your colour grading, then the Pocket 3 will likely be the better option. The Osmo Pocket 3 has a low light video mode, which will give you a great image quality in low light, and even though the ZV-1 Mark II doesn't have such a feature, you'll still get great quality in low light. But the Osmo Pocket 3 is doing a better job. It's slightly clearer, and also the fact that you have a gimbal means that you're not getting those jitters that you get with the Sony ZV-1 Mark II, because it's just got electronic stabilisation. One of the biggest challenges as a solo content creator is actually filming ourselves, but the Osmo Pocket 3 makes this such a breeze with its active track feature. But even if you don't film solo, you can still use it to get some really creative shots. If you wanted to have such a feature with the Sony ZV-1 Mark II, you'd have to invest in a gimbal that had that feature, something like the Hohem MT2, which has AI tracking. But you'd also have to take the time to get the camera set up on the gimbal, and it just ends up being an additional thing to buy and carry around with you, setting it up every single time you want to get a solo or creative shot. The Osmo Pocket 3 makes it super quick, light and easy. There's no faffing involved whatsoever. While I'm on the subject of gimbals, let me just quickly talk about the stabilisation, because the ZV-1 Mark II has active stabilisation, which does take the edge off a little bit, but it also crops in and is nowhere near as smooth as the Pocket 3's gimbal. To get footage on the ZV-1 Mark II that was even close to the smoothness of the Pocket 3, you'd again have to use a gimbal. Where the Sony ZV-1 Mark II has the advantage over the Pocket 3 is with the focal length. You can go from 18mm to 50mm with optical zoom, which will maintain a high level of image quality. Whereas if you want that kind of feature with the Pocket 3, it only has digital zoom, which isn't as high quality because it's zooming in on the footage rather than having the zoom capability of a lens. Depending on your preference and your views about the look you get from having a blurry background in your footage, you might lean more towards one camera over the other. The Osmo Pocket 3 only has the capacity to produce a shallow depth of field, meaning no matter what you do, you'll always have a blurry background when you have the subject close up in the frame and separated by a fair distance from the background. And this is something that you just really can't get away from. Some vloggers don't mind that, but others prefer a more immersive experience when vlogging outdoors that only a deep depth of field can give. So in that respect, because you have the ability to adjust your aperture on the ZV-1 Mark II, which allows you to control the amount of blur in your background, the ZV-1 Mark II would probably be your preferred choice. Both cameras have a pretty useful focus mode called Product Showcase, which allows you to quickly focus on an object even if your eyes are visible in the frame. Typically what happens when you do this without using Product Showcase is that the camera will keep trying to focus on your eyes, so it won't pick up the object that you want to focus on. But Product Showcase disables this and focuses on the closest thing held in front of the lens, typically the thing that you're holding up. In terms of autofocus, both cameras do a really great job, and if you want more control over where the focus is in the frame, the Sony ZV-1 Mark II has a manual focus mode and the Osmo Pocket 3 has single shot focus. One of the key features of a camera for vloggers is being able to actually see yourself in the frame when filming, so having an articulating screen is a complete must. The Sony ZV-1 Mark II thankfully has this. The Pocket 3, however, doesn't necessarily need this feature because it has a rotating gimbal, so you can either have the camera facing you or out in front of you. The biggest advantage of this with the Pocket 3 is the fact that you can go from filming yourself to filming what's out in front of you quite easily and quickly without having to fully rotate the camera and then the screen like you would have to do with the Sony ZV-1 Mark II. The ZV-1 Mark II obviously has the larger screen, but the unique feature of the Osmo Pocket 3 is being able to change the orientation, which also switches between filming horizontally and vertically. Plus, the Osmo Pocket 3 has the ability to shoot in an aspect ratio of 1:1, so you can actually reframe your footage in the edit and edit your footage both for horizontal and vertical all in the same clip. The other advantage of the Osmo Pocket 3 screen over the Sony ZV-1 Mark II is that it's an OLED screen, whereas the ZV-1 Mark II is an LCD screen. So you'll get superior contrast representation from the Pocket 3, which means what you see on the screen is actually a closer representation to what is actually being filmed, making it easier to judge what the footage will look like when you go to the edit. With both cameras, their screen also enables them to be powered on and powered off. The Sony ZV-1 Mark II does this by simply unfolding and then folding the screen away, and the Osmo Pocket 3 does this by rotating the screen to the vertical position to power it off and then the horizontal position to power it on. When it comes to size and portability, it's obvious that the Pocket 3 is smaller and more compact, so like I mentioned earlier, if you are self-conscious when filming in public, you'll have more confidence with the Pocket 3 because of its far smaller footprint. That's not to say though that the Sony ZV-1 Mark II is huge and heavy, because it really isn't, but by the time you've added a gimbal for improved stability, then you've got a much bigger rig. So both cameras do really well in terms of the audio, so the audio that just comes straight from the cameras, no external microphone attached, so just the inbuilt microphones of each of the cameras. The Sony ZV-1 Mark II does come with a fairy windshield, so if it's windy, like it's a bit windy at the moment, then it's just going to give you cleaner audio so that you've not got wind hitting the microphones. Even though the Pocket 3 doesn't have this, it does have the wireless microphone, which does come with a fairy windshield like you've got here. So if you want to get cleaner audio, or let me just switch it on. Okay, so now it's connected. Yeah, so if you want to get cleaner audio, or if you just want to even step away from the camera, then it means that you're going to get clean audio no matter what. Whereas with the ZV-1 Mark II, you would have to 10% battery left, I charged that. You'd have to get a wireless microphone and put it on top of the camera and then have it kind of like this. So it's an extra thing to buy, but it's not impossible. You can do it. It's just that the Pocket 3 already comes with this, which is really useful. So yeah, clean audio no matter how far away I am from the camera. And if you try and hear the audio from the Sony ZV-1 Mark II right now, then you're going to find that the audio doesn't sound quite as good as when I'm a lot closer to the camera and yeah, just talking really close to the camera. So really useful, but like I said, I'll switch this off. Both have good audio coming directly from the cameras themselves. Even though the Sony ZV-1 Mark II has removable batteries, you'll find yourself switching them out far more frequently. The battery life of the ZV-1 Mark II just isn't that good, which was also one of the biggest problems with the Mark I. Also, the Osmo Pocket 3 supports fast charging, which allows you to go from a battery that is fully depleted to 80% in under 18 minutes, which is just incredibly useful. And for greater battery life with the Osmo Pocket 3, you can also attach the battery handle, which keeps the Osmo Pocket 3 fully charged, and then when the battery handle runs out of juice, you can just charge it up while still having full charge on the Pocket 3 to keep filming. Now, when you look at the price of the Osmo Pocket 3 on its own, it's about half the price of the Sony ZV-1 Mark II. Even the Creator Combo comes in cheaper than the Sony ZV-1 Mark II, and the Osmo Pocket 3 is packed with way more features. Plus, with the Creator Combo, there isn't really anything else that you need to get, whereas like I said earlier with the Sony ZV-1 Mark II, there's a few extras that you'd probably want to invest in. So the Osmo Pocket 3, in my opinion, is better value for money. So for me, my pick is without a doubt the Osmo Pocket 3. I use the Sony ZV-1 in some instances, but as my everyday carry is undeniably the Pocket 3. The compact size alone is a massive winner, along with the smoothness of having a gimbal without needing to buy and set up anything extra.